epic, kind of dumb. I love it. Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, Vincent Zeng, the Wandering Warrior. Now, a student of mine actually recommended and requested that I do a Kung Fu movie fight scene review. Interesting. And I said, you know what? Sure, let's do it. First, I do want to say that growing up, I didn't actually like Kung Fu movies all that much. Sure, the fight scenes were kind of cool, but also kind of weird. I mean, think about it. I grew up getting beat the fuck by my parents. I grew up seeing fighting on the street sometimes. And I also knew what K1 was. I also knew about Golden Gloves, and I knew about sumo. So I knew what fighting looks like. I knew what fighting feels like. It didn't feel like a Kung Fu movie, I'll tell you that. Look, in fact, if I want something with fantasy lore and epic, over-the-top fight scenes, I mean, I've got Outlaws of the Marsh, Dragon Ball Z, Lord of the Rings, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, The Elder Scrolls, and Halo. God, I love Halo. Look, I know I'm supposed to be all like outdoorsy and martial arts and history and stuff, but man, Halo 1, 2, and 3, love it. That said, if we look at Kung Fu films not as realistic fighting, but as wuxia and Chinese opera inspired action movies, then honestly many of them are pretty good. So I thought about it, right? I was like, okay, I'm working on this Tantui online course for all of you guys to bring you guys practical, fight applicable, easy to understand, easy to learn Tantui. And I thought, well, where's this Tantui coming from? It's from the Chinwoo Athletic Association. Who was the legendary founder of the Chinwoo Athletic Association? Huo Yuanjia. And there was a movie that I actually quite like from 2006 starring Jet Li, Fearless. So let's dive into these fight scenes and I'll let you guys know what I think. Really hoping for no copyright issues. I really liked the fight scene with the fathers. They started in the classic Chinese martial arts dueling method of crossing the wrists, right? This is a very classic way for duels back in the Qin dynasty to be done. I like it. I like how he broke off and immediately they started trying to go high and low and fighting for a superior angle. That was really cool. I don't like that he ended that combination here without following up. Generally speaking, after this is some kind of throwing or kicking combination to finish off the opponent, whether it's to get them on the ground or get them off the lei tai, which is the raised platform that many Chinese duels took place on. None of them seem to have been setting up their strikes with any particular angulations and stuff like that. It was more just launch, which is typical for Kung Fu movies, but I would have liked to see some other stuff. At the end, when he's got the other father to the edge, he's about to fall, and he does that spinning move and holds back. I don't like that, not because I don't like the spinning move, but usually such spinning moves require the opponent to already be preoccupied with something else. So maybe you fake like you're gonna do a kick, and the moment you are about to kick and they start moving to defend the kick, then you spin around with a spinning back fist, with a spinning kick, with a spinning boom palm. So now we get into that tall lei tai scene where Huo Yuanjia is going to go fight Zhao Jian, the son of the man who defeated his father because his father was being nice and had Wude and all that. Cool. Now, actually, even though this scene is visually epic, I think it's kind of dumb. Okay, first of all, although it's kind of cool to have all those posts, you know, going all the way up to the lei tai, and that kind of harkens to like zhanshuang and postures on the posts and all that. It doesn't make any sense because the spectators can't see what's going on. They're all like trying to see the fight. That doesn't make sense. And clearly his opponent, Zhao Jian, is supposed to be doing something like Hangaku or something like that, right? Although it was very visually appealing, I was quite disappointed that on the long fist end of things, I'm not seeing angulations, I'm not seeing kick, punch, grab, and throw combinations. I'm seeing more one-to-one move and wire work. So where I would love to have seen a lot of angulation, level changing and punch, grab, throw combinations from Zhao Jian, I would have liked to also see a lot more hard deflections into various attack combinations. Would have been awesome to see. The fight also probably would have been a lot shorter. Obviously with the clawing and the tearing open of the clothing, I think that's kind of dumb. And I think all of these double moves, I'm not saying they're wrong, I just think that there could have been a much more realistic expression of all of these things. So at this point, our hero, Huo Yuanjia, is the talk of the town. He's beat his old nemesis, and he's going about beating all other rivals in his hometown. All of these fights are equal parts cool and ridiculous. Now, what I like is that he's using stuff from the sort of long fist meta of movements. A lot of these techniques are very classic stuff. So I like the way that Jet Li is changing levels with his shots, song xia, and I like the way he's changing angles. When he was taking the stick versus the paired sabers, I liked the way he was doing that. It was kind of fantastical. I would have also liked to have seen him use the stick more effectively to target the hands, to hit the dead zones of the sabers and kill their momentum, hit the guy's clavicles, break the guy's elbow, right? Treat it realistic. And obviously, when everybody goes up to fight him, the two of them just tackled him and pinned him down, and they just stomped him out. That's it. No more Huo Yuanjia. Mi Zhong Yi. Now this is the so-called long fist Chang Quan style that Huo Yuanjia was supposed to have done, and it is known for its agility, its mobility, its deceptiveness. If you guys want to know how to use long fist, regardless of any system or style that you belong to, if you just want to know the components, how they work together tactically and allow you to fight effectively, I do have a course on that, The Essentials of Long Boxing, or Chang Quan, 基本长拳. The course is down below in a link. You can go to my Teachable, sign up, you won't regret it. Here we have Huo Yuanjia fighting Qin Shifu, and this is an interesting situation in the story where Huo Yuanjia finds out he's been working so hard to become a complete piece of shit. Now, I do appreciate the heavy cuts and the use of deflection and wrapping and all that stuff. That stuff is cool. I think that they could have taken more specific angles with their cutting so as to protect their bodies before they launch that cut. Because otherwise, someone can just lop off your hand as you come in. So there are finer points of sabermanship, baofa, that they aren't really using here. They're doing a lot more fantastical jumping around, and every furniture breaks so easily. Now, there was some edge-on-edge contact and binding going on between the blades. It's not ahistorical. I know some people claim there's no edge parrying in Chinese swordsmanship. That's wrong. There actually is. However, there are nuances to meeting the edge with an edge. Usually you don't meet it, 90 degree, but there's angles to it. And there's a lot of using the spine of the blade to parry, wipe aside, to deflect. And on top of that, anytime they got into these dramatic binds, I was hoping to see more grabbing, more wrestling, to either throw down the person or to make space to finish with the cut. Now this last scene where they're in the storeroom for all the wine and they're, brawling it out, I actually really like this part. This is like a high-level cinematic, low-light version of your typical fight at Walmart or a bodega or a gas station. It's good. It's good. I like it. Oh, by the way, and I know some of y'all are surprised that I'm taking a video suggestion. Yeah, I take video suggestions. If I can work it into my plans, I'll do it. In 2018, I left what was my previous life, being a workaholic, working 12-hour days, trying to make somebody else's dreams come true. Which anyways, didn't make sense to me anymore. I left that in 2018, and it's not just my hard work and my drive and my perseverance. It's not just the support of family and friends and mentors. It's also because of you guys that I get to embark on this as a career path. It isn't easy. Don't get me wrong, I've had to pick up a lot of odd jobs and do a lot of other things, but I'm starting to see the success. You guys give me this opportunity. On that note, if you believe in my mission, if you believe in immersing in these folk fighting arts and their cultures, if you believe in unlocking the true power of Chinese martial arts, in becoming a Mongolian wrestler and warrior, in diving deep into and immersing in the hunter-warrior cultures of our world before they go extinct, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. Anyways, let's get on with the other fight scenes in the movie, Foreign Challengers. This next fight is against this first foreign fighter, who's this ginormous strongman, right? And I know this is supposed to be kind of like this weird, like smaller Chinaman uses skills to defeat big, strong meathead from America or something, and the idea is that, you know, with superior skill and he can win over and gain the gratitude of this guy who is all strength and no skill. So realistically, in this time frame, we're talking late 1800s, early 1900s, I would expect the strongmen of the time to actually be pretty formidable. They were combination men. MMA was called that. They were doing boxing, wrestling, and obviously weightlifting. He's got everything you got. Chinese had stone lifting, bow pulling, all that. Well, this guy has his Western version of weightlifting as well. You have kicking and punching. He has a lot of punching and some kicking as well, depending on his background. You have catching and throwing. He has catch wrestling. So if he is, you know, someone who has got everything you have, but he has more experience fighting a wider variety of opponents, he might have an advantage. Also, in the movie, they make him so much bigger than Jet Li, which obviously would make it hard. I would have liked to see actually a lot more of the anti-wrestling grappling repertoire that is in Li Zhongyi, that is in Chang Quan, Long Fist. Because there is a lot of both wrestling and anti-wrestling. There's a lot of anti-clinch movements in this stuff, and this would have been a perfect opportunity to showcase it. Okay, so now he's facing a British pugilist, a boxer. I think it was okay. My impression is that for the time period, that the British boxer would have been a little bit stiffer at the feet, a little more stationary, more walking down his opponent, a little bit more of the lean back still, hands in front, catching strikes on his forearms. Honestly, I'd argue that for the traditional Chinese boxer of the time, being used to setting up strikes with kicks, being used to setting up kicks with strikes, being used to setting up throws and locks with striking to help unbalance people, the British boxer would have posed a unique challenge, because the British boxer is used to setting up all of his techniques and his knockouts with these and with footwork and spacing, and he is not substituting some of those tactical skills with technical skills, like, well, let me just throw this kick and then come in, right? Don't get me wrong, you still need to understand angles, spacing, timing, and so on. However, I think for the Chinese boxer, having these other skills means he didn't develop the skills that the English boxer would have been going deeper into. This is not necessarily a better or worse, because again, if you can end the fight with a kick to the nuts and then just elbow them in the head, you do that. Now, against the spearmen, yeah, this one I think is really dumb, I'll be honest. Chinese spearmanship is, in general, excellent. Spearmanship as a whole is about deviating their line and you gaining their center and delivering a killing thrust. The fact that they're going back and forth and being all acrobatic and jumping around and doing this and that, and I think it was the Belgian pikeman, you know, snapping his spear to go shorter, although that gets him more leverage, that doesn't really make sense in the context of this fight. I would have rather they showed how him maintaining his frame, his jia, using the proper fa ji, and using the right angulations, lan na, boom, za, gain the angle that he needed, gaining the leverage that he needed, and in the right timing was able to completely misalign the opposing spearman's spear and end the fight. Okay, now I do understand Jet Li is, trying to not have to kill people anymore, so he's using the spear like a staff in order to beat up the other guy without actually killing him. Just use the butt end, flip it around, use the butt end, and treat him like a pool cue, boom, until he gets knocked out or something. Okay, now against the fencer, this is interesting. What I am against is that Jet Li had his finger on top of the sword blade. That's dumb. However, I think the back and forth was okay. I would have liked to see him draw him out more in order to displace and control the opposing blade to threaten the finish. Cut to center and hold. So I think it was okay, but there was a missed opportunity to really showcase the control game that the Jian offers. Instead, he's going kind of for the stunt of being able to disarm his opponent, which, yeah, that's cool and all, but that doesn't get into good swordsmanship in and of itself. Okay, now lastly we have Huo Yuanjia's fight against Tanaka. The Japanese martial artists, they're trying to show some kind of mutual admiration and respect between these two. They're trying to showcase that, yes, the Japanese Empire is doing a lot of dirty things, and they did, but that there can be respect between great martial artists. So during this time period, there was positive martial arts exchange between Japanese and Chinese martial artists before the Empire of Japan invaded. But anyways, the fighting. Huo Yuanjia uses the sanjie gun, the three-section staff, against Tanaka using the katana. I actually enjoyed this fight scene. I thought it was quite clever. I think it was cool how Huo Yuanjia was alternating between using this thing as a normal blunt instrument and using its whip-like flexible weapon qualities. That was pretty cool. I also liked how Tanaka was using the katana and its stoutness and its leverage to fight his way in to be able to start threatening Huo Yuanjia. That was good. Also, it was kind of funny the way they disarmed one another and how Huo Yuanjia was still able to use the katana to some extent, maybe not quite as expertly, quite as gracefully, but Tanaka struggled to use the sanjie gun. That makes sense. If you come from a background where you aren't using flexible weapons of that sort regularly, you're probably not going to be good at it. Whereas someone like Huo Yuanjia, you're using dao, you might even have used 双手刀, two-handed sabers. It's different, but it's not that different. You can kind of figure things out. I like that part. Now, what I don't like is when his sanjie gun, his three-section staff, is broken. Huo Yuanjia kind of starts using it almost like eskrima sticks. But if this thing is a cudgel, if this thing is a bludgeon, then I would expect you to be using them like 双剑, the bar mace, which is also a common weapon in China, and really just smashing the katana and the katana hand and beating up the opponent and breaking them. Now, his next match, there's really not much to say. He gets poisoned. It is what it is. However, I do like that they both started from a long posture. This is a bare knuckle form of long boxing. So I really like that they showcased some of that, although the entries were a little fantastical. I like that they were showcasing that stuff, different kicking and punching combinations. That was cool. Obviously, our hero gets poisoned and he dies a martyr after having redeemed himself from being a complete ass. So yeah, as a movie, as far as storytelling, as far as cinematography, man, 10 out of 10. As for fight scenes, I think there were many missed opportunities to showcase real Kung Fu, Zheng Kung Fu. All right, so that's my take. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any additional thoughts of your own, please let me know down below in the comments section. I'm going to have more videos coming up about the Chinwoo Athletic Association, the legacy of Huo Yuanjia, more long fist and Tantui related content, and of course in the future, Tantui 12 roads in a practical, effective, efficient learning format for you guys. So stay tuned and thank you for joining me on my journey. I salute yours. Peace. Guys, I gotta get out of this thing. 36 degrees Celsius out here, high humidity. Look what I do for y'all.